What up, what up? It's your girl Tia Renee. How we doing today? How are we doing today? The topic of today is shifting your identity and coming back to who you always were. I talked a little bit about this on my last on the YouTube video, The Power of Presence and the Rise of the Divine Feminine. And about how sometimes we just come back to who we always were instead of just shifting our identity. But sometimes we do have to shift what we've been attached to, what we've been programmed to do and be, to act, to behave, and everything of that nature. Sometimes we have to shift that. But for me, and what I've been observing about myself is that I've been coming back to who I've always been. And on my way to my little spot to do this podcast, I was thinking about how when you wake up and you come to a certain realization, when it's time to transform, everything you knew has to come down. Everything you've been programmed to think, to be, has to come down. And that's a painful process. So, what triggered this topic today was a phone call with one of my good friends last night. She was getting ready to travel and she was waiting for her flight. And we just got to reminiscing. We just got to talk about the good old days. We've known each other since, freshman year in college, 2011. And I'll never forget how we met. There was a house party going on in a nearby neighborhood. Really, it was like on campus apartments, but you still had to like walk a little bit to get there. And I remember seeing her face because she shared a class with me. We had the same major. And I'm like, oh, you in my class. And then we found out we was from the same hometown and we only lived down the street from each other in that hometown. Hey girl, if you watching, hey. So we were just talking about the good old times, man. We had some good times in college, outside of college, all the partying we used to do, all the drinking, all the other festivities. Man, and we was just talking about all these different instances where we was turned up, we was having a ball, we was having fun. Even the bad times was fun because we was turned up. So, a lot of that stuff we was laughing about. And girl, remember this? And girl, remember that? And today I just woke up like, man, that's a part of me that I really do miss. Not miss in a way where I would necessarily go back to being that person in that exact same expression. But just the old days, just the old times, just the way we used to express ourselves. Those were some good times. And I reflect on my present and how I'm just not that person anymore. At least not exactly in that expression. Your girl can still turn up and still have some fun. But in my ascension process, in my process of having to heal and having to face shadows and traumas and things of that nature, I've had to sit down a lot. It wasn't a whole lot of partying. It's not a whole lot of turning up. It's not a whole lot of being the Tiara that Tiara used to be. It's a lot of solitude. It's a lot of quiet time. It's a lot of reflection. It's a lot of healing. It's a lot of healing trauma. It's a lot of time alone. So I spent a good piece of my morning grieving the Tiara that used to be, that used to seemingly for the most part be surrounded by people who resonated with me on a certain level, and I'm not really around those people anymore. It's just me and me for the most part. And trust me, this is a time that I absolutely value, but it's a time that could be really painful because you're facing everything. You're facing everything, and it's just you with your thoughts. It's just you with your past. It's just you with what you're still healing from. It's just you, and most people are not on the same page as you anymore. Most people don't really know who you are anymore. As much as they used to know you, they don't know you anymore. They wasn't really with you shooting in the gym when you was going through this and going through that. Some of those people caused the pain, and they will never understand the heights of how that affected you. Now, that's not to say we should be attached to it. It's not to say that we should continue to cling on to it, because that's a part of this ascension. That's a part of this healing. Is to use it as a lesson and use it as a blessing, because now you're on a different level. You won't tolerate what you once tolerated before. You won't accept what you once accepted before. You're not triggered by the exact same things that you once were before, but you still had to go through the storm. You still had to sit in that shadow of that period. You still had to come to terms with where in your life it was still affecting your daily life, your daily movements, your daily thoughts, your daily interactions with the world, with other people, with how you see yourself, etc. It's a lot. But I'm feeling like it's definitely worth it. Like, if you really watch me, you know I'm in nature a lot. I'm in nature for the most part. It's something about it. When they say nature is healing, I feel like a lot of people just say that as fluff, but I really feel the energy. Like, I'm just out here today just feeling the energy of the air. It's like a lighter energy. It's a healing energy. It almost feels like an energy that's just pulsating throughout my whole being and just showing me that I'm much lighter. I've let go of a lot. Now, it's not to say that these are things I'll necessarily forget. Like, I think of the saying, forgive and forget. It's not to say that I've forgotten a lot of the stuff that I've been hurt by, but I'm no longer weighed down by it as much. You know, I know that on this next level, I can't take that with me. I'm elevating higher and higher and higher. And with that, when you elevate higher and higher and higher, you got to get lighter and lighter and lighter. You can't take all that stuff with you. I gotta find me a new little spot, cause you know I like this little area as far as like the grass and the trees and stuff. But there's just so much traffic, there's so much stuff going on. There's cars going on, there's helicopters, there's everything. And it's a beautiful day out here. I just love it. I really do. So, the old you that you're attached to, that you know you can't take with you, you know you're not going to really be able to fully express the new person that you want to be with these behaviors, with these thoughts, with these attitudes. You got to be able to face it. Now, it's not to say to run from it. You can't run from it. You can't suppress it. You can suppress it for so long, but if you're really on this journey, it's going to come up. What goes up must come down, baby. What goes down must go up. Is that really a thing? Think about it. I mean, when it comes to this ascension, yeah. When it comes to this healing, oh yeah. You're trying to press it down, it's coming back up. It's coming back up. So don't even worry about it. Okay? And I'm just learning in my life through studying myself and my experiences. I'm just learning to be okay with that. It's very painful. It's very painful to face these things. It's very painful to let go of what you once thought you were. Because, baby, we be attached to that. We be attached to who we think we are. But no, baby, it got to go. It got to go right now. Y'all, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful out. So yeah, it's rough. It's a rough one. This morning was a rough one in the best way, though. Man, as long as I've been on this journey, I just think about how randomly I'll just cry, and in my mind I'm just letting go, I'm just releasing, I'm just shedding, because for years I did not cry. And I really had to think about that at one point. I'm like, for years, I did not cry. Even with all the pain I went through, all the heartbreak, all the disappointment, all the feeling like it's been really just me for real. It was a time where I was not crying. And now I cry so much. And I'm like, yo, there is no way at one point I was not releasing all of this. Whether I knew it or not, I was just bagging this stuff up. So it feels good to release now at this point. I've grown accustomed to, I gotta let it go. I gotta release it. I gotta shed it. It gotta come up. It gotta cleanse my system. And now it's the best thing. I value it. I really do. And it's okay to do. It's so necessary. So I think I was touching a little bit on, instead of creating your new identity, sometimes you're remembering who you are. I feel like I'm remembering who I've always been. I think about when I was really young and who I really was for real. Like, I always had a little jazzy little attitude. I always, well, I'll get into that, but naturally, I will say the first thing that came to my mind, what I really thought, but over time, that was suppressed. Over time, when I was talking about behaviors and how you think and how you express yourself, over time, that was an idea that was being inappropriate. Or that you don't ask no questions, you don't talk back, you don't this and that. And I feel like for most people, especially being raised in a black household, that's what it is. But, you know, you really learn the importance of expression. And we all have unique expressions. It doesn't mean that we all express ourselves the same way. It's not to say that we all are super bold, say the first thing that come to our minds, don't hold our tongues like we like to say. And sometimes it's really just stopping and thinking first. It's really stopping and thinking, but still saying what you have to say, but saying it in a way that can be well received and still direct and still honest and so forth. But we're all designed to express ourselves differently, but it is important. And a lot of times in the black households, in the black community, that's shunned as inappropriate or is shut down, and that inhibits our expression. So as I look at the patterns in my life in the past, my expression was inhibited, but not even just my physical voice. How I created, how I expressed myself creatively was inhibited for years, and I didn't really realize what was going on. I see, the beautiful thing about being on the path that I've been on is that I've done a lot of my own psychology work. I've really looked into the depths of my own soul and psyche and asked the questions like, well, what happened with this? At one point I was this way. At one point I was very creative and expressive. And man, you get down to it. You get down to it. I've been my own psychologist for years. And I think it's a very important part of the work. Even if you are going to go and get psychological help, there's nothing wrong with that at all. But I think it's very important to be able to dig into your own depths, to be able to ask yourself the hard questions and sit with yourself with it. It's not easy to do. It's not easy to do, but it's so necessary. So on this journey, you know, a lot of us talk about, oh, I'm in solitude. Oh, I'm isolated. We like to use isolated. I really like the word isolated. Because although, yes, I have been pretty solid in my journey and have had to do a lot of stuff on my own, I wouldn't say that I'm isolated. Isolated seems like more of a word, like you're being punished or something. Like when you're in jail and they put you in a hole, you're isolated from everybody because it's a punishment. But solitude, I feel like, is more of a gift. Solitude is more of a gift. To be able to sit with yourself without the noise of the world, without the noise of your family, your friends, the people closest to you, society. It's a gift to be able to hear your own voice again. It's a gift to be able to come back to yourself again. It's a gift to be able to have your own mind That's something that really concerns me about our generation is, and I feel like to an extent, is human nature. It's human nature to look at other people, what they're doing, to compare yourself, to kind of bounce ideas off of somebody else's and things like that. That's part of our human nature. But it kind of gets to a point where a lot of us are literally just 100% following just every little thing everybody else is doing without a second thought. Oh, because somebody else is doing it, I gotta jump on the wave. I gotta jump on what's trending. I gotta jump on what everybody else is doing, but we're not having a thought about what we feel and think about it. Especially in this age of social media. It's hard to see unique expression. Not to say it's not out there, but it's hard to see because everybody is just following and doing what everybody else is doing. And that's too much of a herd mentality for me. I like to stand out a little bit. I like to do it a little different. But that's also a good thing about that solitude. You get to find what it is you are. What's your style? What's your thing? What's your thought? Instead of what everybody else is doing. Now, don't get me wrong, I be in solitude on social media, okay? But I be seeing it all the time. It's like, dang, everybody doing the same things. We all doing the same thing. As soon as something trending, everybody on it just because it's trending. A lot of times I think that a lot of us don't even know if we really like this trend or not. But everybody else is doing it, so you got to do it, right? That's kind of the unnerving thing about this generation and then the generation after mine. But, in my reality, I stay true to myself. You know what I'm saying? And that's another part of knowing your world, not what somebody else's world is, not what somebody told you your reality is supposed to be. That's the point of being with yourself, is being in your own world. That term, being in your own world, that's a real thing. What is your world? What does it look like? What do you do? What do you like? What do you think about this and that going on in the world? Instead of what everybody else thinks. Instead of what everybody else says. Be you. Yeah. And again, it's human nature to want to have community and be around people. Me being in solitude for the most part does not mean that I don't want community. But at the same time, with being with myself and loving on myself and coming back to who I am and knowing that I'm deserving of the love that I feel that I always deserved, that community is still very particular to me. I'm to a point now where I would rather be with myself than to just be around anybody, than to just be with people because I'm scared to be by myself. That's just not a thing for me now. And luckily, it was something that's always been embedded in me. For the most part, I've always been a solid chick. Like, people rocked with me. Don't get me wrong. People rocked with me in school, everything. But I was never really, I wouldn't say I wasn't really part of no crowds for real. Sometimes we would have like groups of friends we would hang with and stuff at certain points of time or whatever. But for the most part, it was me. It was me, and I was cool with this person, that person, this person, that person, these couple of girls or whatever. But yeah, it's been me for a while, and I cherish it and I value it. But I am coming to a space now where it's like I feel that I'm ready for the community that aligns with my soul, that aligns with my spirit, not just because they're a person to take up space. I'd rather be by myself. I don't want you just taking up my space and my energy, and we're not really leveled. We don't really have the same ideas. Nothing wrong with having different ideas about things and stuff, but if it's just way off and it's lowering my vibration and whatever else, and yours and mine's just a little too much higher than yours, and it's just not gonna work for me. But everybody's at their own level in life, and there's nothing wrong with that either. So, that's going to be who it's for. It's not for everybody. This journey is definitely not for everybody, at least at this point in time. Something I'm realizing that everything has to go back to God, which really is you going back to yourself and in your inner core, and God is expressed through all of us uniquely. So maybe it's just not your time now, but in the evolution of things like we are in right now, that also starts within. That's also within. So within right now, you might not be ready. It might not be your time. But at some point in time, it's going to be your time. Your turn is coming. And mine just happens to be now. And I'm all good with that. So, yes. So if you are consciously on this journey, and you're looking to, I've been really interested in like quantum jumping and things like that. I've been seeing a lot of people posting videos about that, and it's just really interesting to me. Like, this stuff is literally in quantum physics about shifting and evolving, and the world being a simulation and a mirror and everything else. Now, the science of it, I'm not too good with, because science has never really been my thing. But it's like I said in my last video, in this case, it would be a science, which would be the physical, and there would be a metaphysical, which would be the immaterial or the spiritual aspect of everything. So there are parts of this in science that can be proven of, the nature of reality that we live in, and that we can shift it. And in metaphysics, that starts in the mind. You shift it in the mind. You shift your thoughts. You shift how you view yourself. You shift your identity. Just like we're talking about today, shifting your identity. Who I'm looking to become, I'm not going to talk too much about it. I'm just going to continue to become it. But who I'm looking to be, who I'm looking to become, the type of world I'm looking to live in, I got to come back to who I am. And I mean, it's still a shift. Because, at one point you're not that person. At one point that part of you is not expressed, or it's underexpressed. So you have to come back to it. So it's still a shift. But ultimately, it's you coming back to who you are, who you've always been. And that also goes back to God. Because God is everything. God is constant. God is unchanging. It's deep, y'all. It's deep. It's interesting. It really is. I love metaphysics. I love it. I love learning about like the esotericism, the metaphysics, a little bit of the quantum physics. The math ain't really my thing either, because math is another, what some people call like a science of God as well. Math and science. This stuff can be calculated to an extent. Everything can't. You know how we talk about the source and citing the source. I was talking to my friend about this too, another friend of mine. How it's just so funny how like everything they teach us does come from a source. Like they tell us to cite our sources in school, and we can to an extent, but not even entirely. There's a lot of margin and error with stuff like this too. And I told her, I'm like, I feel like we can't really cite the real source. So it's funny in school they tell us, cite your sources. Where'd you get it from? With certain things on this journey, when we're talking about God and we're talking about the field, the energy, all that stuff, a lot of stuff you cannot cite. You can't calculate it. You can't be like, oh, I got it from this source. But clearly there is a source. It all comes from something. We all come from something. Everything comes from something. And nothing at the same time, because we really can determine a lot of this stuff too for ourselves. So it's no thing, nothing, no thing until we make it a thing. And it'd be paradox too, but it make me jump a little bit like, oh, it's very interesting. It's very interesting. So identity shifting, quantum jumping. I'm trying to jump into something way higher than this. This is why we get caught in the rut. This is why we get caught in the rut of the world, the work and the grind. See, I'm always going to go back to that because that's like something I'm very passionate about. I'm very passionate about it. I'm very passionate about soul freedom. I'm sorry, like, we cannot be a free soul in this system that we're working out. The system is still gonna be here. It provides us the structure that we need. We're still gonna need things to have our livelihood, and we're gonna need people to work in these systems to assist in keeping it afloat. But I'm speaking more of how we operate in it, what we think about it. Oh, the work home, the grind, hustle. That's it. A rinse and repeat. And then we're in places and spaces that don't really fill our passions or don't help us to really invest in our passions. And really, that's what we're supposed to be doing anyway. We get the money, we got stuff to pay for, but we're really supposed to be investing in ourselves and our purposes and things like that. But a lot of us are not doing that. So this is why we get stuck. Now, see, and now all of that goes in part into your mind, how you look at it. Because say you are working a job that you can deal with, whether you love it or not, you can deal with it for a while. You get in your money, you're taking care of everything. There's a difference between that person who's just going to work, grind, hustle, rinse and repeat every day for years and years on end and feel like, oh, this is all I'm doing, versus somebody who's doing that, but they're putting their money to the side. They're investing in their business, or they're investing in their passions or what they love. It doesn't even have to be a business. A lot of us say like, oh, multiple sources of income, which I agree with that. At the same time, it doesn't have to be that, as long as you're fueling your soul, you're fueling your desire in some way. If you desire multiple resources, great. If you don't, use that to fuel something that you desire, that your soul yearns for. This is where we keep getting it messed up. We just work. Look, baby, I got tired of that. The thing was, for me, when it comes to working and fueling your desire, is that for me personally, I feel like that took away from my desire, just working. Because yes, while I desire the money as well, I desire my soul fulfillment. I desire knowledge of self. I desire knowledge of God, the spiritual aspects of things, the nature of reality and existence, which really is my time freedom at the end of the day when you boil down to it. Yes, the money too, so I can take care of what I need to take care of, so I can invest in the experiences I want. But ultimately, it's my time. Working 9 to 5, working 40 plus hours, that's taking too much of my time. And then by the time I get home, I gotta get ready for the next day. And a couple of days I got off, or the day and a half, I like to call it, whatever 2 days it is, for the most part, for most people, it's Saturday and Sunday. Sunday don't count, we know that. You get a Saturday to do everything. You gotta do everything, and then you gotta rest. I gotta rest. That could take up half my day to recover for 40 plus damn hours. If you got kids, whoo, Lord, you gotta take care of the kids. They might have their own things going on Saturday. What time do you really have for yourself? Sunday is like a half a day. I was like, this ain't working for me. As far as like a traditional 9 to 5, like the hours of 9 to 5, I've worked all types of schedules. I've worked 9 to 5, I've worked 8 to 5, 9 to 6, 8 to 6, 7 to 3, 6 to 3 overnight. And I'm like, most of that don't work for me. It don't, especially 5 days a week. It's taking too much of my time. So for me, it was more than just the money. Okay, yeah, the money was great, but now I don't have my time. Now I don't have my time to get right within. I don't have my time to really focus on Tiara, to focus on her essence, her healing, what she's looking to even do, what's her goals. I don't have time to think about that stuff. I only got time to shower, eat, and go to bed and get ready for the next day. And they don't want to be here, so now it's messing with my mental health. And then, like society tells us, and at this point, what I'm telling myself is, oh, well, I have to do it. I gotta do it. How the bills will get paid. I have to do it. And that's where we mess up too. No, society told you have to do it. And now you're convinced that you have to do it. You have to get right with your spirit. But if you accept it, if that's something that you're willing to do, nobody's forcing you to do it. But if you're so tired of 9 to 5, what are you going to do? You're going to wait for somebody to free you from it? That's not going to happen. Nobody's coming down and saying you're free from the 9 to 5. And then a lot of y'all wouldn't even know what to do with yourselves. Listen, that was me at one point when I had quit my job. At one point, I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to do this no more. I'm going to quit. And at that point, didn't even really know what I was going to do with my time. So I ended up right back. Because I'm like, what am I going to do? Because I do believe in the power of balance. I do believe in the power of having the structure of work of some sort. It doesn't have to be traditional work of some sort. And then having your time to yourself. But as long as it's not taking up all my time, it can't take up all my time, all my days. I'm telling you right now, 40 hours too damn much for me. Check out my site, www.tabooish.com, and read on my journey. I've been documenting my journey of leaving the 9 to 5. I still work, but I wouldn't say it's in the traditional way. I've done all types of things, and that's the thing too. The fact that you're not going to know everything, you're not going to have all the answers on this journey. You got to jump in, you got to start somewhere, and just trust yourself. And if you believe in God or a higher source, universe, whatever you consider it, trust that it's going to guide you. But you also have to be open to it. You have to be open to that guidance as well. You have to be open to the trial and error of it. Yeah, it's not going to be a linear path. It's not going to be, well, for some people it might be A goes to B, goes to C, goes to D, E. But I know for me, it's been a lot of trial and error, and it still is. It still is. But that's what makes it interesting. You definitely have to stand on your square, though. If you say, and I talk about this a little bit too, about our relationship. I have a video on there called Our Relationship with God Shouldn't Be Too Humble. Religion goes into it too. They've convinced you that, oh, God's almighty, and He is the almighty. God is the almighty because it's everything, right? But we've been trained to look at Him as like an authoritarian that don't want to hear no questions, don't want to hear no. You remember how your mom, especially if you grew up in a black household, my mom was like, I don't want to hear that shit. I don't want to hear no back talk. I don't want to hear no questions. I don't know. That's how we've been trained to look at God as well. It is not that. It's not that at all. You actually could tell God. Well, no, I won't say that. I was going to say you can actually tell God what you're not going to do. With certain things, yeah, it's a polar. Because if God is guiding you to do something, especially if it's of your best interest in nature, yes, you do want to do. He's telling you to do. But when you know in your soul, when you know in your spirit that something is not aligned with you, when you know that it's something that you're not supposed to be doing, when you know that this is not a part of your path and your spiritual trajectory, yeah, you could tell God, like, I'm not doing this anymore. And then God's going to be like, bet, now we can get on track. Now we can get down to it. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I mean when I say, you could tell God or the universe, I'm not doing this anymore. Because it no longer aligns with your spirit. You shouldn't be doing it anymore. And that's what it was with me. In this working field, this workforce, this labor force, or whatever. Oh, I'm not doing this anymore. You got me up. You got me effed up. I'm not doing this no more. And I'm really almost pretty much to a point too when it comes to the certain worries that we have, to worry about monies and bills and all that stuff. I'm like, look, I'm tired of worrying about that stuff. I don't think I could fully say that I'm not going to worry about it anymore. Not 100% there yet, but for the most part, I'm getting tired of worrying about that. You get paid or don't. Now the only thing with that is just rent. I got to have my roof. I got to have me a roof, and not my car roof either. I need some space. I got stuff. I got to spread it out, all of that. But with other stuff, I'll be like, you get paid or don't. If it's supposed to get paid, it will. Because I think that's like our biggest humanity fear is money, bills. Man, look, they got us fearing them bills. That's another reason they got us back in this workforce. I'm backing and a forfing and a forfing and a backing. Cause we scared we ain't gonna make them bills. Baby, when I tell you they got this thing laid out, this whole system, how they did it, and it's all on your emotion. They playing on your emotion. They playing on your top to keep you going. Like I said, it's a polar to it because it's not anything necessarily wrong with working. It's just about the mindset. It's about the intention. It's about the purpose. If your mindset, intention, and purpose is just being in a rigmarole, yeah, something wrong with it. it's something wrong with it, because unless you shift your mindset, you are not getting out of that. And some people are okay with it. I think some people are designed to be that way. I think some people are designed for that type of repetition. 9 to 5, 9 to 5, do it again, 9 to 5. Some people actually are designed to operate like that. But when you know you're not, that's when it's a problem. That's when it's time to get into alignment. That's when it's time to get in alignment with your purpose, what you're supposed to be doing, how you're supposed to be operating, who you are, how you express yourself, your uniqueness, your authenticity. That's when it's no good. And that's what I had to find. Really, I knew a long time ago. But again, I was in that space where I convinced myself that's what I had to do. This is what I have to do. I got this, I got that. I got to pay for this and that. I got to do. I don't like it, but